everybody. Welcome to our first episode of How's the Vlog. I have the lovely Mary with me today, and we're going to talk about Mary's knitting, because as I've said before, I think that we've all had well and truly enough of my knitting over the years, right? And you can only watch a man knit 4 pieces of stockinette and sew them together so many times. It's a fact. So, Mary, do you want to tell people a little bit about yourself? And, how did you first get into knitting before anything else?
I first knitted when I was probably about 5 or 6, which involved me spending most of my time trying to get the stitches along the needle.
That sounds familiar. I remember that. Mm-hmm.
And very quickly gave up on it and took up crochet.
Oh.
Then I did attempt to knit something when I was in my probably 20s. I knitted the whole front of the cable jersey, and then when I bound it off too tight. So it went in the naughty corner where it stayed probably for about forever before it got thrown out. Then there was an article in the paper by a lady, I think she lived in Christchurch, she'd written a book and about sock knitting, and I was like, I could do that. I was spending huge amounts of time sitting at the swimming pool watching my kids swim.
Yes.
And was like, I could take those there. So I bought some yarn and knitted said socks. They probably took me about 3 years to knit. And they were also done on circulars. I did magic rope, but they were the ones which had you then spent 3 hours trying to get each stitch onto the...
So when about time-wise did you get into the socks?
That would have been in about 2008.
Okay, so 2008, we're talking those stiff plastic thick cables.
With the real jog that you have to go to get to the needle.
And you have to really shove them on.
Yes.
Okay, I remember that name.
That was me.
I remember that.
So then past that, what did I do? Then I decided that I was going to try knitting. So I think I knitted a cardigan was my next thing I knitted. I know.
There we go. I mean, that is held true still. You do knit, and Mary's part of our regular Wednesday night knitting group, you do knit a lot more cardigans than many people do. Because there's a lot of jumper knitters out there. Cardigans, I think, are fewer and farther between for most people.
To be fair, that cardigan I knit, then I've knitted all jumpers until I knit this cardigan. But I do prefer cardigans because I can control my body temperature better without being...
Definitely.
I can take it off a lot easier than taking a jersey off when I'm at work.
Now, you have 2 kids, and I'm going to tell some people a little bit about you if you don't mind. You have twins, so yes. I can't imagine that unlike some mothers who do have a little bit of time, possibly, to knit while the baby is down, that you ever had any time.
Well, I didn't back then. To be fair, my mother knit me jersey stuff for them when they were babies.
Right.
And this is this was how much I enjoyed wool, was when they're dirty, Mary, just give them to me and I'll wash them.
But I think that's a really common thing. We hear that all the time at the shop. And I think that's okay. But that's a really big shift in your journey from, that point in time to you're wearing 2 different, probably 3. She's most likely wearing a pair of pants. No. So, because you are the queen of the no-show sock. But I think that's a really big journey to go on. That's a big adjustment in your life to go from not knitting at all, not loving wool, handing them over to your mom to be washing till today, sitting here in 2 hand knits, working on a 3rd one and with a batch of stuff in your bag.
Yeah, they probably did wear polar fleeces more, to be fair, because I didn't have the time. You could put a polar fleece in the wash at night and it was ready to go back to preschool the next day. So.
Yeah, that's totally fair. And if you're not a prodigious knitter and you're not producing 5 or 6 jumpers for each age category of your child, polar fleeces are the reality. Because I think we can all agree that machine washable knits are a bit of a letdown. In general, machine washable yarns just don't behave the same way that we would want from other yarns.
True.
So I think that's totally fair. Now, you started back knitting with socks at that poolside.
And I even have that set pair of socks here. Shall I show you?
Yes, I would love to see these as an early knit that you worked on, because Mary is part of a group of knitters, including myself, who all kind of part-time knit socks. We're not full-time sock knitters. There are a lot of oh my goodness, look at them. Oh, they're great though. Especially for early days knitting. This feels like an old, like, Crunchy.
Seed book.
Oh, she's even got the book by Belinda. So good. And it was from Hans Ashford. For Christchurch locals, so this is the basic sock out of that book. For Christchurch locals, Hans Ashford was a shop in the, I guess, kind of in between Maribel and Papanui for many, many years that closed.
I think they call it Strohan now.
Are we calling it Strohan?
Well, yeah, it wasn't Strohan when I was growing up. It was Brindle when I grew up.
Right.
Now called Strohan.
So it was in Strohan, and it was this giant bric-a-brac emporium of years of somebody running a craft store where nothing had ever been sold off, no matter how long it sat on the shelf, which was kind of amazing to go in, and you could get all sorts of help there. Well, those are great. And do you still wear them?
Yes.
Okay, see, now I think that's the really magical thing. I always love to ask people about their early knitting because I have kept almost nothing from my early knitting. I'm a big giver awayer of things when they no longer suit me, so I actually don't have a lot of early knitting stuff, but that's really cool.
And said cardigan.
And said early cardigan.
Which does get worn, but more often at home.
Yeah.
Has buttonholes. This is Mary's favourite thing.
That is a classic.
She does put buttonholes in, but doesn't put buttons on. But they're there in case I decide at a later stage.
And was that cardigan knit seamlessly, it looks like?
Yes.
Well, so that's a big jump
This
too.
is Libby Johnson.
Oh, lovely, lovely. So would you say for yourself that the jump into seamless knitting overall has helped you to get more knitting done than before?
100%.
Okay.
Because seams was is not my fave.
No, but that's totally fair. I mean, I think that obviously I am he who seems all the things. And I have a personal bias and a professional bias. I'll be clear, everybody. There's a reason I don't tech edit very much any longer. Come at me with your seamed garments if you need help. But seaming is its own skill to develop. I think we can agree. And it takes almost as much time as the knitting to develop the seaming skill if you're not a natural sort of seamer.
Yeah.
So, but I have to say, I see a lot of people who make a lot of disappointing top-down knits. And you are not one of them, Mary. Almost all of your top-down knits seem, over time especially, to have come out better and better. Now, are you like a big note taker? Do you pay a lot of attention? What are kind of the things that have made these things successful for you over time? How do you manage the seamless knitting?
Not very good at taking notes, to my detriment. And if I do write notes down, often I then can't read them later when I go to reread them.
Always helpful.
Which is so helpful. But I am getting better at taking notes because I would get, if I wear something and someone will go, oh, what size is that? And I'm like, I'm not sure.
Same.
So I am getting better at doing that. I have started putting them onto Ravelry, but often my notes will be in the hidden notes so that only me can see them. But at least then I've got them there.
And have you found over time, is Ravelry becoming a better resource for you or a less useful resource?
It's a good place just to be able to keep my stuff.
Yeah.
I don't find that I find patterns. Well, I don't find any patterns particular. I don't find patterns there. I probably watch quite a lot of YouTube, which knitting podcasts, which is where I'll see someone. You need to sit there and knit while you watch it. But I spend most of my time searching Ravelry because they'll have mentioned the pattern and it's like, oh, I need to look at that, and then you get waylaid. But I think I don't go searching in Ravelry for patterns like I used to.
Right. I feel you. I'm hearing that more and more from knitters. I'm also hearing a bigger diversity of discovery points. Like I'm hearing Pinterest, I'm hearing Instagram, I'm hearing I do think overall Instagram is the most reliable place to find your knitting inspiration, especially if you're into trends. I'll just be blunt about it. If you're into the knitting trends and you like the things that are happening of the moment, I think Instagram overall is the best. Instagram and YouTube are the best two discovery platforms. YouTube, if you're somebody who likes to watch the podcasts. I do not like to watch the podcasts.
That's why I watch them and then tell you.
That's correct. And then they show up in the newsletter. Everyone's always like, you've got such great pattern ideas. It's like, yes, I sit in my shop and I take notes about what everyone talks about. Spoiler alert, everyone. Note-taking is a primary gift of Ethan. Yeah.
You remember things too, though, whereas someone says something at the knit night about a pattern, and I get home and I'm like, oh, what pattern was that? So I have to send myself a text while I'm at the night.
That's a perfect knit night strategy.
Yeah.
I think all of you at home should really write that one down, or possibly text it to yourself while you're watching. Start texting yourself notes about knit night. That's a hot take I actually haven't heard before. That's really clever. Now, I'd really love to hear you tell the people a little bit about something that you've made that you're really, really proud about, that really met your expectations or exceeded them. Is there anything that's been like that in the last little while?
You did say that. I think that the last thing that I knit often is which is what I'm wearing, my vest.
Yes.
But this is my fave by far because I wear this all the time.
So yeah, I also, and I cannot believe what I'm about to say because I have yet to see a version of this on a person at any level of ease that doesn't look, I've yet to see a version of this on a woman at any level of ease that doesn't look great. So tell us a little bit about the cardigan you're wearing.
So it's a novice cardigan by Petiteknits.
Our friend Meta.
Knit in 2 strands of mohair.
Yes, and I think that you used Issayer's silk mohair in 54.
Yes, 54. And I've knit another one for my daughter, which is yet to get. It's sitting at home. I have got buttons for her one. I just haven't put them on. She lives in Melbourne, and I'm going there next month, so
perfect.
Buttons have to be on by then, and it has to be blocked.
Oh my goodness.
And then it can go with me.
Well, good news. You're always welcome to come use the giant blocking area. What you guys can't see off camera is a horrifyingly untidy blocking area that is about to get switched to all black tiles tomorrow. Because breaking news, I can't live with the mismatched blocking tiles.
Children's
yes.
green, yellow, pink.
They're quite brightly colored, which is not really mean. So this novice cardigan, you, I believe, were the second person to knit one, but the first one to knit it all in mohair in our little collective. And it has certainly launched at least 3 others that I can think of off the top of my head. What about it, apart from the fact that it does look great on, what did you really like about it? Was there something?
It's just very easy to knit.
Yeah.
I've knit the balloon cardigan as well, which twice, which my daughter has both.
A green one and a cream one.
No,
Right.
blue.
Oh, blue. The
Yeah,
blue one was,
blue.
oh, yes.
And that I really liked because you do the button band in the same as your knitting. But the sleeves are
It's a lot of knitting.
There's a lot of knitting.
There's a lot of knitting.
I am going to knit one for myself. I know the colour I want. I just need to get you to order the yarn. But this one's just so easy to knit, and it's like you just go round the top. You do increases. It's not too important when you it says to do them every so many inches or centimetres. If you off by a couple of rows, it doesn't matter. You just increase.
We love a forgiving top-down pattern because the top-down patterns where it's like do this exact thing at this exact moment. Those seem really stressful. I have to say, a lot of knitters that I see navigating those top-down patterns where there's 20 things all happening at once.
Well, especially when you're doing a V-neck one, and then it's you've got to increase on this, increase on this side at a different rate to you're increasing on the other, and I'm like,
So we would recommend the novice cardigan.
And the sleeves are knitted straight down, so there's no decreases. There's no decreases in here. It's just straight.
No, you do, and you did on this one, you do a fascinating thing with sleeves where you knit them almost all the way down on one side, and then you finish them almost all the way down on the other.
I started doing that after I did Liv's balloon cardigan, and the sleeves were too long. And then I had to, after I'd blocked it, done it, like they're meant to balloon, but they were ballooning so you couldn't see the hands or anything. So then I decided it was better to just do them both to where I ended, then do them later, so I knew I had the right length.
I do think that's really clever, and what I will say is this comes out with a really professional finish. The biggest thing that I've definitely learned from watching you guys knit over the last little while is, wow, with those Danish patterns, does the yarn selection play a massive difference in the final outcome. Yarn selection is always really important, but I think that we have all watched a friend struggle through a Petiteknits knit in a worsted spun 8-ply, if you're in New Zealand, yarn, and it just not turn out the way that we've all done it. I've done it. I've knit them for
Liv's first balloon cardigan was an exact of that, because I used just an 8-ply, and it's looks really good, but it just doesn't have the drape on it that when you do it in the 4-ply and the mohair, or fingering and the mohair together.
Which we're obviously in favor of, as I am wearing also my skimmed muffet today. I really, really love the combination that you're wearing of that Stockholm slipover. And spoiler alert, I knit my mom's for Christmas.
And that's why I did the same colours.
In the exact same colours. So when mom comes back, they can twin, which is a knit night standard. So you've really grown in your knitting. You've come back to it a couple of different times. You've found different things about it. Apart from the actual stuff that you're making, I mean, I have an opinion on what knitting's brought into your life because you've been brought into my life, which I'm super grateful for having you. But, you know, I really see in our knitting group a really big change that happens in people when they start participating and joining in with us and doing all of the, and we are a little wacky and silly because all knitting groups should be a little wacky and silly because you need playtime in your life as an adult, and play is hard to come by, right? Like, and so
we're all very different.
Yes, we're super, I really cannot stress how lucky we are with all the people that we have in our local knitting community. It is a big, uncomfortable, unwieldy tribe of people who are individuals and all out there to help each other, and it's a beautiful, beautiful thing. But what does knitting bring to your life every day that you would miss if it wasn't there?
Something to do with my hands, and it keeps me reasonably grounded, I think. It also, because if I wasn't knitting at night, I'd sit there and play on the phone, literally, and just waste my time.
I don't know about, I find that too. I found that I've been trying to be more diligent about keeping my phone face down while I'm knitting. This might sound crazy, but sometimes projects seem to take forever for no reason. And I started paying attention and I realized that they start taking forever near the end when you start checking your phone all the time. But yeah, knitting definitely brings that. And it kind of, do you find that it fills the little gaps in your day that otherwise before were just there? They weren't good or bad, they just existed.
Yeah, and I wish I'd started knitting like when I say I knitted with those socks when I think the kids were about 8 or 9, but it would have been good to have had, they took years and they weren't a regular thing to do, but in some ways I wish that I'd had something that I could have done when I was sitting at the pool, but we're talking back in 2008. Cell phones weren't
they were not flashy. The Moto Razor was still the high point of cell phone technology, everyone.
So you'd take a book to read or something, but then you're meant to be watching the kids who came down to the pool and they'd be like, "Did you see me do such and such?" And I'd be like, no.
So, the challenge.
So if I'd had something to keep my hands occupied doing something like that, or you're sitting in a doctor's waiting room, I find that's the thing, like
Yeah.
It's having something that I can take with me to keep me still present in the room, but not, but still keeping myself entertained. So if I'm on the phone, I'm not I'm not present, I don't think.
No.
Some people don't get the fact that you're present, so when you're knitting. I find that.
I think you're right. I think that people see us busy with our hands and occasionally looking down, and they think that you can't be doing this and fully engaged. And I mean, we've all had a knit night project go horribly awry because you end up too engaged in the conversation and not engaged enough in your knitting. So I think that is something that we do know as knitters, and I think spreading the culture of it by taking your knitting everywhere and knitting in front of people forcefully is the way to go.
I knit anywhere I can. Like I'll knit in the, when I'm out, but there's certain people that I don't knit when I'm around because they just think that I'm not there.
True.
I do find it also calms me down.
I agree with you on that front. It may surprise you to find out, Mary, that I am a slightly high-strung person. I'm under more tension than a piano. Anyway, and the calming aspect of having something to do with my hands as opposed to making wild gesticulations while talking, my natural inclination, has definitely really helped over time, and I think everyone who knows me can agree this is much less annoying than the tap dancing under the table, which was a thing. Now, we covered a little bit about where you've been with your knitting, and now I think, so tell us a little bit about the whip that you're working on, and then I'd like to talk about where you're headed this year with your knitting. So what are you working on right now?
I'm working on the Trelissa. This is for the knit fast dye warm. I'm not quite following the rules, and that I haven't knit this before.
Oh my goodness!
But that's fine. I don't always follow the rules. I share the same birthday as you, so I decided I can make my own.
Rules are meant to be broken.
I am. Where am I? I've got 18 rows, 400 and something stitches.
Oh, you made it.
No, I am partway through them. I think I'm nearly halfway through.
When you said that on Wednesday, there was like a collective silence for Mary. Like everyone just gave her a moment of silence after she announced the stitch count total before separation. We were just like, Godspeed, sister.
We do have two, Ethan and Christine, who knit flat. So of course they're like, well, if you were knitting flat, you wouldn't have all those stitches.
No, I mean, as somebody who's currently knitting a raglan, this got up to 80 stitches total.
But I'll have my front and the back and both sleeves all done in one.
Boom.
You see? So,
one shot and it's over.
Yeah, so we are...
It's like those triple vaccines for kids.
And in true Mary style, she's also knitting a vest. Because Mary doesn't ever do one thing at a time.
No, I don't think we should do one thing at a time. I've been really monogamous for the last two projects, as we can see from the one that I'm knitting and the one that I'm wearing. And I have not enjoyed it. Now, this Trelissa pullover is really fun, though, because it has a unique feature in the bottom half that I just think is actually quite fascinating. And I'm going to pop a picture of it up here for everybody, because I've actually learned how to do this. So I'm going to see if I can actually frame it with my hands when I do it. Here's the Trelissa pullover that is being made, and it has a colorwork band around the bottom that is done with the colorwork motif in silk mohair.
One strand of.
One strand. So it's going to make this kind of ethereal, fluffy, partially sheer sort of.
Would they say that with having the this carrying across the back, it's not sort of see-through, but that gives you
that sort of lightness to it. So I think that is going to be really fascinating.
See, because Mary did not swatch that part.
Okay.
She swatched the rest.
We'll find out.
We'll find out.
And we are working through this in Durera yarns. Albertine and Bethany's used separately. I'm wearing Albertine and Bethany's together. This is actually a coincidence. I did not plan this. Normally I would have planned this, but I honestly am only wearing this because this is my most recent pattern release. And a little shameless self-promotion, never hurt anybody. So this year, many of us at the beginning of the year set out some goals for our knitting. I have an atypical goal, which is a year of nothing new as defined by Ethan, which for me is going to be no new patterns, which is going great. I'm through Exeter, I'm through Timberline, got this one done, I'm almost through this one. I think I made 2 shawls in there somewhere, and technically I finished the Musselburgh hat in the previous year. Thank God. But yes, but what is your knitting plan, if you have one, for the rest of this year? Tell the people, what are you aiming for?
I do want to knit a couple more cardigans. I've decided, I think, that I prefer things knit in fingering weight.
Yeah.
So I want to increase my
fingering collection.
Yeah. Sounds great, doesn't it?
I was going to say, don't say that too close to a lesbian bar, but
so yeah, cardigans.
Cardigans.
I've got, and I did knit a few summer tops for this summer.
You really did knit some great summer tops this year.
And I want to knit some more of those because I can wear them year round.
They make great lanyard pieces.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, Christine, you may hear us reference Christine a lot. If you haven't experienced Christine, thankfully she is along for the ride for Knit Fast Dye Warm. And Christine inspired the Knit Fast Dye Warm knit along. She requested a second knit along to knit a jumper before winter. This was a whole thing that I planned entirely for her, which I still find very funny because she doesn't seem to remember this initially.
It's because I don't think she participated last year, because last year I made it 1 month and she was like, I'm never getting something done in a month.
I made it quite aggressive.
So we extended it this year.
We extended it. We've got 2 whole months for Knit Fast Dye Warm. If you haven't had the joy of experiencing Christine, she came and led the way on last week's What the Flock. Quite different to How's the Flock. So go check that out. Finally, I think I'd like to end by asking you, if you were going to give new knitters the best advice that you found for happiness with your knitting, specifically around the joy side of this craft, what's the biggest piece of advice that you would give people from your perspective on knitting?
You just need to, everything's not going to be perfect. Referencing Christine again, it's when you make a mistake, it's just a design feature.
It's just a design feature. Yeah, we're very religious knitters.
Yeah.
Only God makes perfect things. I think that's a really good piece of advice, actually.
And just to try it. That would be it.
So just to try it. So jump in, take big risks, small risks, do whatever, see what happens, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. I think that we as knitters spend not enough of our time. I'm going to change how I'm saying that. We spend not enough of our time today together. So I'm really, really grateful that you came to hang out with us today and share a little bit of your knitting story with everybody. I'm going to leave the lesbian bar bit in and live with that. For the rest of you who are watching, I would love to have any and all of you on How's the Flock. You're going to get to meet lots of other amazing local knitters the longer that you stay watching How's the Flock. And I can't wait to have Mary back as part of our panel later this year, along with the delightful Quarantine. And as we roll closer to the end of the year, we're going to do a little bit of a year in review situation, and I'm going to get a couple panels of knitters together for us to discuss what went on in our year of knitting, both as a local thing and as a global thing. I'm going to use this fine moment to shout out all of the other local yarn stores and libraries, resource centers, old age homes, churches. It doesn't matter. If there is a local knitting group near you and you are not a member of it right now, we want to encourage you to please go. It doesn't matter where the group is. It doesn't matter what the purpose of it is, what the knitting purpose of it is. Go and join a local knitting group. It will change your life forever. And sometimes people say that and they don't really mean it, but we mean it, right?
Yeah, we've got quite a massive age group, and the group that come on a Wednesday night as well, which is really,
it's
really
really beautiful, and you can really see how having the diversity of ages, that kind of thing, really is great for everybody involved. It keeps some of our older members young, and definitely helps a lot of our younger members to find answers to questions that they didn't know they would have, both in life and in knitting.
Then we have people who might be only in Christchurch for a week that will come in, and it's quite
exactly
meeting other people.
Totally. So even if you're joining for 1 day or 1 week, even if you're only in the town that you live in or you're staying in for 5 more minutes, go find a local knitting group this week and get involved. It's the best way to enjoy your knitting. And as you're going to hear me say a lot over the next several years, if you're on the Flock online, or if you're here watching How's the Flock, or if you're joining us for What's the Flock, I just want to remind everybody that life is better together. So we will catch you all a little bit later. We'll have more information on our knitting, specifically mine, on What's the Flock on the weekend. So I hope all of you have a beautiful rest of your day and happy knitting.